Alright, so we're going to look for the hand. Let's see, where is it? Left arm. Okay, left hand index. Actually, let's just make it in the left hand. I'm going to right click and click on add socket. Right, you see this add socket? And this is called now the left hand socket. That's great. It's a new thing that's been added here. And what I want to do is I want to preview an item on this socket. Right? And this socket is something new. It's linked to the skeleton. It will move along with the skeleton. Right click, add preview asset, and let's actually preview that statue. Right? So the statue is big, and that's because it's not scaled here. So let's just scale that. Right, move this here, and I actually want to preview an animation. Let's do walking. Let's pause that. Yeah. Okay. So let's move this around so that it looks good inside the hand. We're actually manipulating the socket, whether you guys know it or not. We're manipulating the distance between this and where the actual socket is. So all items will have this offset. Let's make sure this looks good from the back. Okay. That looks okay, I guess. Yeah, this looks okay. So I'm just going to save. I'm going to go back. And now that the socket is created, we know it's called left hand socket. Now what we're going to do is when we hover over this or when we overlap this, I want to make sure that it attaches to the player. So what I'm going to do is in my event graph, on actor event begin overplay, remember I'm still in BP master item, I'm going to attach to actor, right? It's going to take some trial and error. Let's pull this static mesh. We want to attach this. Actually, let's delete this. There are many versions of attach to actor, and this is called this is actually called polymorphism in object-oriented programming. So it's the same kind of function, but it does different things. One is target is actor, the other one is target is scene component. Right? This is polymorphism in action. Polymorphism basically means that you use the exact same function name. Both these are the exact same function name, but they do different things depending on the situation, depending on the inputs. Right? So I'm going to choose this one. And the parent, I want it to be, our get player character. And, the player character, of course, has a mesh. So I want to get the mesh. It's a mesh. Yep, I want to get the mesh. And for those of you that don't know what the mesh is, if you go to third-person BP, and you get third-person character, and you go to viewport, you see that this word here is mesh. That is what I'm pulling out. That's the thing that I want from the player character, right? And I just make that the parent, and the socket name, left hand socket, right? Keep snap to target, snap to target, snap to target. We need it exactly where we need it. Right, so this is just, it's going to work on overlap. Hopefully this will go without a hitch. So when I run over it, as you can see, the statue is in my left hand. I can use this to beat people up when it's time. So as you can see, even when I punch, the statue is still in my hand, which is a good thing. Right, so what I want to do is I want to show you guys what it's like if I change the statue to something else. Maybe I want to change it to pillar. Okay, that's a big pillar, but let's see how that works. See? Obviously, it's covering my entire arm. So make sure when you design your items, you design it smart. And it's another pillar pillar frame. Yeah. See? You have to obviously perfect where the socket is, and it's never going to be totally perfect, but we have create a system where we can pick up an item and run around. Now I quickly want to make a system where you can drop the items. So instead of us doing this in the blueprint for BP master item, which is going to be difficult because you need to cast to the player and yada yada, we'll do it in third person character, because one thing is this BP master item is not a character blueprint, right? It's not a blueprint with this. You have to look for this little symbol here versus this symbol. It's just an ordinary blueprint. And the problem with an ordinary blueprint is you can't call an input function. You can't call, you can't check if the jump button is pressed or the F button is pressed. You can't do that here. But you can do it in your third person character. So I'm going to go to event graph. Actually, I'm going to go to my project settings. I'm going to go to input. I'm going to add a new action mapping called drop all items, right? And we'll make this on the keyboard. We'll make this the maybe, I don't know, F key, right? That should be good enough. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to right click. I'm going to say input F, drop all items. Okay. So when drop all items, when the F key is pressed, what I want to do is first I want to get all actors of class. And when I do this, it means that I want to get all the particular actors of a particular class, and the class I'm interested in is BP master item. So BP master item, right? I'm going to get all the actors of this class, right? So when it's pressed, we'll get all the items, and this returns an array, right? Obviously, it's going to return an array of objects, each with their own details, and I'm going to loop through all of these objects. So I'll do a for each loop. So going through all of the elements of the array one by one by one. So for those of you that don't know loops, it's very simple. We have that bucket of whatever, the array of objects or numbers or whatever it is, and you want to go one by one examining them, right? So I'm going one by one. So every single item that it finds, what I wanted to do is I wanted to first cast to BP master item, because we need to do something from here. We need to get the mesh. As the BP master item, I want to get static mesh. Okay, I want to get the static mesh, and what I want to do is I want to kind of detach from component. I want to detach from component. Actually, one second. We'll drag it off from here. Sometimes the polymorphism can get confusing. So we'll detach the static mesh from the components. So detach from component is very simple. It automatically removes component from whatever it is attached to. So I want to detach the static mesh from whatever is attached to, in which case it would actually be the body, right? Which it will actually be the mesh. I'm sorry, right? And we'll do keep world, keep world, keep world. So we'll go through all of the items of the BP master class and we will detach them. This should hopefully work. Oh, so we need an object for this. We'll just say the array element. So what we're doing, and I'll just show you quickly what we're doing. We're going through this box of all the attached elements. Maybe there's a pillar as one element that's attached. Maybe there's, I don't know, ball. Right? And what I want to do is, if at any point I'm attached to these, in my loop, first I'll look at pillar, I'll look at element 0, and if there does exist, if I'm able to find a static mesh, then detach it from whatever is attached to. So if pillar exists and is attached to something, then get rid of pillar, right? Just drop it. Then we go to ball, and if ball is attached to something, then drop it. So that's what we're essentially doing with this entire piece of code here. So let's just play this. And we have that. And we press F. As you can see, it just drops it in the middle of nowhere, which is exactly the behavior we want. Now, one notice that you got here, which I want to kind of bring your attention to in third person character, is there's a note here and it says item is already a BP master item. You don't need to cast to BP master item. Now this is just an extra thing. It's giving you a note. You don't have to do this. And the reason you don't have to do this is because I'm already getting all actors of class BP master item. Right? So I already know these are BP master items. I don't need to cast to them again. I don't need to go back to their blueprint. So I can actually just delete this and I can connect this directly, right? And go straight. Saving that, and this should work flawlessly. So as you can see, I can just leave it in the middle of nowhere and keep moving on. So it's cool. Now I'll show you what happens when I can actually make copies of this. I'm going to hold Alt, drag this, and this time the item mesh, and remember the reason this is showing up here, the item mesh, is because I exposed it. I opened the eye in our BP master item. Remember here I opened the eye, and that's the only reason you can change the mesh to what you want. I want this to be maybe a rock. Wow, that's too big. Let's see. Maybe. And this game is going full WWE now. So I can pick up this chair to throw around. So here's what happens if I hover over both. I can actually pick up both items, and we want to prevent that in the next episode. But when I press F, I drop both the items together because we're looping through all of the items that the player has and we're dropping all of them. So press F and you leave it wherever it is supposed to be. Right? And yep, so now I just want the chair. I'm going to leave the chair here. And this, I'm going to leave it there. Awesome. So that's that for this video. Catch you in the next one.